Welcome back, the followers of Stoic wisdom by Zeno. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed how some people don't just speak, they command the air itself? One word, and they have everyone's attention. Meanwhile, others, no matter how much they talk, are overlooked like whispers in a storm. It's not about being the loudest or the smartest. It's about mastering the invisible rules of communication, the kind that ancient philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus spoke of, speaking with intention, not just noise. Here's the harsh truth. The way you speak reflects the way you see yourself. If your words stumble, apologize for existing, or beg for approval, you're not just softening your presence, you're erasing it. The Stoics taught us to own our words, to say what needs to be said without excess or fear. Seneca once wrote, "Speech is the mirror of the mind. If your mind is cluttered with insecurity, self-doubt, or the need for validation, it will show in the way you speak." People don't respect noise, they respect clarity. Imagine this. You're a lion in a field of sheep. You don't roar to prove your strength. Your silence does that for you. But most people are the opposite. They try to fill every silence with chatter, desperately hoping someone will notice them. What they don't realize is that respect comes not from what you say, but from what you don't say. A wise man knows that silence can be sharper than any word. It's a weapon, a test, and a tool all at once. Let's dig deeper. Think of your words as currency. Every time you speak, you're either spending wisely or throwing away your wealth. Too many people speak as if they have an endless reserve of attention to draw from. But attention, like respect, is finite. People will stop listening if you keep spending your words recklessly. A well-placed pause, a deliberate sentence. These are investments that pay dividends in respect. Now, let's address an uncomfortable reality. Most of us apologize far too often. Sorry I'm late. Sorry to bother you. Sorry for existing. Every unnecessary apology is like handing over your power, piece by piece. It's a subtle way of telling the world, don't take me seriously. I don't. The Stoics believed in accepting responsibility for real faults, but never groveling for forgiveness where none is needed. As Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Own your time, your voice, your presence. The world will only respect you when you respect yourself." Here's another bitter truth. Many people confuse speed with power. They rush their words, thinking it makes them sound confident, but all it does is turn their thoughts into a blur. The Stoics believed in measured speech, the kind that leaves room for thought. They knew the power of the pause. It's in those moments of silence that your words take root in someone else's mind. It's like planting a seed. If you keep digging it up to explain it, it will never grow. And let's not forget the shadowy art of influence, dark psychology, if you will. The way you speak can subtly manipulate how others see you. Speak too much, and you come off as desperate. Speak too little, and you risk being forgotten. But when you speak just enough, when every word has purpose, you create a gravitational pull. People can't help but be drawn to you. They lean in, not because you demand it, but because your presence demands it. At its core, speaking with respect isn't just about technique. It's about philosophy. It's about knowing your value and refusing to dilute it. A Stoic doesn't beg for respect. They live in a way that commands it. So ask yourself, are you speaking to fill the void, or are you speaking to fill the world with something worth hearing? If this resonated with you, if you're ready to take control of how you speak, live, and command respect, then join the movement. Hit like because your voice deserves to be heard. Subscribe to Stoic Wisdom by Zeno and step into a world where every word you speak carries the weight of purpose, power, and philosophy. Don't just exist, live with intention. Let's grow together. Point 1. Drop the chains of sorry, speak without shackles. Why is it that the smallest word can carry the heaviest weight? Sorry. 2 syllables that often roll off our tongues without thought, yet they shape how the world sees us and how we see ourselves. Apologies, when necessary, are acts of strength and humility. But when you apologize for things that don't deserve it, you're not being polite. You're handing over your power, piece by piece, like dripping water from a broken vessel. Think about this. Would a general apologize to their army for standing at the helm? Would a king apologize for taking his throne? When you say sorry for existing, for speaking, for simply being in someone's way, you diminish your stature. You tell the world, I am lesser. Please don't notice me too much. And the world obliges. It stops noticing. Here's the reality most people overlook. Your words teach others how to treat you. Every unnecessary sorry is like waving a white flag in a battle you didn't even need to fight. Imagine walking into a room a few minutes late because life got in the way. You say, sorry, I'm late. What you've done in that moment is frame yourself as a problem, as if your very presence requires justification. Instead, flip the script. A simple "thank you for waiting" transforms the narrative. It turns an excuse into gratitude, a weakness into strength. The Stoics had a firm grasp of this principle. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What does this mean here? It means you control how you present yourself to the world. Life happens, traffic jams, delays, misunderstandings, but your reaction defines whether you're seen as someone worthy of respect or someone who bows to every circumstance. You might ask, what's the harm in apologizing? Isn't it polite? Let me challenge you with this. If you constantly apologize for things beyond your control or for merely existing, you create a narrative where you're always at fault. You lower the bar of how much respect people feel they owe you. Worse, you start to believe it yourself. Imagine a sculptor chipping away at a statue, bit by bit, until there's nothing left but rubble. That's what excessive apologizing does to your confidence. The harsh truth is, apologies are like currency. Spend them wisely, or their value diminishes. A heartfelt, well-timed apology carries weight. It rebuilds trust, bridges gaps, and shows integrity. But when sorry becomes a filler word, a reflex, it loses its meaning. It becomes background noise like static on a radio. And let's be honest, no one respects static. Now let's explore the darker side of this habit. Why do we apologize unnecessarily? Often it's rooted in fear. Fear of confrontation, of being judged, of seeming difficult. It's as if we're trying to shrink ourselves to make others comfortable. But here's the paradox. The smaller you make yourself, the less people see you. In trying to avoid conflict, you create a bigger one, inside yourself. Picture this, a tree standing tall in a storm. It doesn't bend apologetically to every gust of wind. It roots itself firmly, knowing its worth, its space. You are that tree. Your words, your presence, your opinions, they deserve space. When you apologize unnecessarily, it's like uprooting yourself before the wind even hits. What's left is a hollow version of what you could have been. So, how do you break free from this habit? The next time you're about to say, sorry, pause. Ask yourself, Do I truly owe an apology, or am I just trying to soften the moment? If it's the latter, resist. Replace sorry with strength. Instead of sorry for bothering you, say, do you have a moment? Instead of sorry I'm late, say, thank you for waiting. These aren't just phrases, they're shifts in how you see yourself. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Your words are your chains or your liberation. Choose them with care. Speak with the authority of someone who values their presence. Stop apologizing for being human. Start owning your space. Respect begins with how you see yourself, and it all starts with the simple act of dropping unnecessary sorries. If you're ready to turn silence into strength, words into wisdom, and conversations into power, then this is just the beginning. Like this video if it lit a fire within you. Subscribe to Stoic Wisdom by Zeno, and let's walk this path together, one where every word you speak shapes the respect you command. Remember, greatness isn't in noise, it's in mastery. Join us and make every moment count. Point 2. Draw the line or drown. The power of boundaries. Imagine being a dam holding back a raging river. The structure is strong, but every crack weakens it. Over time, without repair, it collapses. That's what happens when you live without boundaries. You let the world rush into your life, eroding your peace, your time, and your very sense of self. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But here's the truth. Without boundaries, you're surrendering that power. You're handing over your control, piece by piece, to everyone but yourself. Let's be honest, saying no feels hard. It stirs discomfort, guilt, and fear. What if they think I'm selfish? What if they don't like me anymore? These thoughts sneak in like shadows, whispering lies that keep you saying yes when every part of you wants to scream no. But here's what the Stoics understood. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. Epictetus taught, know what is within your control and what is not. Your energy, your time, your sanity, these are within your control. When you let someone cross the line, you're giving away what's rightfully yours. Think about this. Why do people respect the ocean? It's not just its beauty or vastness, it's the boundaries it sets. When the tide comes in, it doesn't ask permission. When it crashes against the rocks, it doesn't apologize. The ocean's power lies in its unwavering nature. You too must become like the ocean. Your boundaries should not be negotiable, not dependent on how others feel about them. Because here's the thing, those who truly value you will adapt, just like people adapt to the tides. But let's get real. What happens when you set a boundary? Pushback, anger, guilt trips. Oh, you've changed. I thought you cared about me. These are weapons people use to keep you compliant. Here's where the philosophy of Stoicism shines. It teaches us to detach from external reactions. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. In the grand scheme of life, how much does someone's temporary anger matter compared to your long-term peace? Not much. Let me tell you a story. Once, I had a friend who called me whenever they needed something. A ride, a favor, a listening ear. At first I obliged, convincing myself it was kindness. But over time, I realized they never called to ask how I was. They didn't even notice when I was struggling. One day, I said, "No, I can't help you today." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. For a moment, I felt like I'd done something wrong, but then I felt something else. Relief. Saying no wasn't a betrayal of our friendship. It was a reclamation of my time and energy. Boundaries don't push people away. They reveal who's willing to respect you. Think of it like a sieve. The ones who care about you, the ones who deserve to stay, will adjust. The ones who can't respect you without exploiting you. Good riddance. As Seneca said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Boundaries don't just protect you, they elevate the quality of the people around you. You might be wondering, how do I set boundaries without feeling like the bad guy? Start small. Decline an invitation you don't want to attend. Turn off your phone after work hours. Practice saying, "That doesn't work for me." And remember, you don't owe anyone a detailed explanation. A simple no is a complete sentence. When people push back, and they will, stay firm. Because when you cave, you're teaching them that your boundaries are flexible. Respect comes from consistency. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. They let in what nourishes you and block out what drains you. The world will test you, but it's up to you to stand your ground. Every time you set a boundary, you're telling yourself and others, I matter. My peace matters. And that, my friend, is where true respect begins. Point 3. Silence speaks louder than words. Have you ever noticed how silence can make a room feel heavier than 1,000 words? It's an invisible force, something you can't see but can't ignore. Yet, so many of us are terrified of it. We think if we stop talking, we'll lose the room, look uncertain, or be forgotten. But here's the paradox. The power of your words doesn't come from how many you speak. It comes from the spaces you leave between them. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Let your words carry meaning, like coins that hold their weight." In today's world, we throw words around like loose change, hoping to buy attention. But when you're constantly speaking, constantly explaining, you're not adding value, you're devaluing yourself. True respect is earned in the pause, in the deliberate choice to say less and mean more. Think of your words as arrows. If you shoot them without aim, they scatter, lose power, and land nowhere. But if you pull back, pause, and release with precision, your words hit their target with undeniable force. Silence is that moment of pulling back. It builds tension, anticipation, and focus. Without it, you're just flinging ideas into the wind, hoping something sticks. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. When you fill every gap in a conversation, you're not showing confidence. You're showing insecurity. It's like drowning in your own noise, afraid that if you stop, people might see through you. But the opposite is true. When you pause, you exude control. You're telling the world, I don't need to fill every moment with sound, because my presence alone is enough. Maybe you're thinking, but won't silence make me look unsure? Let me ask you this. When a leader walks into a room and pauses before speaking, do they look uncertain? That pause is like the calm before a storm. It commands attention. It's in that silence that people lean in, waiting, wondering what comes next. Silence is a mirror of confidence. Only those secure in their words can let them stand without rushing to explain or defend. Consider this. Music without pauses is just noise. Imagine listening to a song that never stops, never breathes, never lets you feel the rhythm. It's exhausting, isn't it? The same goes for speech. Pauses create rhythm. They give your words weight. They turn your ideas into a melody that resonates long after you've stopped speaking. The power of silence isn't just about speech. It's about life. It's about knowing when to let things breathe. Seneca wrote, "Time heals what reason cannot." Sometimes in conversations, giving space is more powerful than any immediate response. A pause says, "I trust my words to sink in. I trust you to understand." But silence isn't easy. It feels awkward, like standing on a stage with the spotlight burning down. You want to fill the space, to end the discomfort. But here's the secret. That discomfort isn't your enemy. It's your ally. It forces people to focus. It gives them a moment to process. It makes your words memorable, like an echo that lingers in their mind. And let's not ignore the darker side of this skill. The art of pausing can subtly shift the balance of power in any conversation. When you pause, you're no longer chasing approval, you're commanding respect. It's a psychological edge, a quiet way of saying, "I'll speak when I'm ready, not when you expect me to." In the pause, you hold the room in the palm of your hand. That's power. So, the next time you're speaking, resist the urge to rush. Let your words breathe. Trust that silence will carry your message farther than endless chatter ever could. As Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Embrace the pause, and you won't just be heard, you'll be remembered. Point 4. Laughter can be a double-edged sword. Humor is a powerful tool, like fire. Used wisely, it warms hearts and forges connections. Used recklessly, it burns bridges and leaves scars. If you want to speak in a way that earns respect, you need to understand this. Humor isn't just about making people laugh. It's about making them think, feel, and trust you. But let's get something straight. When humor turns into a desperate act to win approval, it stops being powerful and becomes pitiful. Have you ever seen someone turn every serious moment into a joke? At first, it's entertaining, but eventually, it gets tiring. People laugh, but they don't take them seriously. It's like a comedian who's always on stage, even when the curtain has fallen. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Replace arguing with joking, and you'll see the wisdom applies here too. If every sentence you speak is an attempt to be funny, you're not adding value to the conversation. You're subtracting from your credibility. Let's break it down. Imagine humor as seasoning on a dish. A pinch of salt elevates the flavor, but dump the whole shaker in, and you've ruined the meal. The same goes for your words. A well-timed, thoughtful joke shows confidence and intelligence. It's like a pause in music. It adds rhythm, making your words resonate. But overuse it and you're no longer a leader in the room. You're a clown, dancing for laughs that don't last. Here's where it gets deeper. Why do we over-rely on humor? Sometimes it's a shield. When we feel insecure or uncomfortable, humor becomes a way to deflect attention from our vulnerability. If someone criticizes us, we laugh it off. If the moment turns serious, we crack a joke to lighten the load. But here's the problem. When humor becomes a shield, it also becomes a wall. People can't see your authenticity through it, and where there's no authenticity, there's no respect. You might think, but won't people think I'm boring if I stop joking so much? No, they won't. In fact, they'll see the depth you've been hiding. Humor is not about quantity, it's about quality. A single sharp joke at the right moment can do more than a dozen scattered attempts at being funny. It's the difference between a surgeon's scalpel and a butter knife. One is precise, the other clumsy. Think about this. Some of the most respected speakers in history used humor sparingly but effectively. Abraham Lincoln, known for his wit, didn't joke to fill space. He joked to make a point. His humor wasn't a distraction, it was a bridge. Even the Stoics understood the power of a light touch in serious moments. Seneca wrote, "A joke is sometimes a better weapon than a sword." The key word there is sometimes. Humor, like a weapon, must be used with purpose. Now, let's address sarcasm. It can make you look sharp, but it can also cut the wrong way. People often use sarcasm to mask insecurity, to seem clever at someone else's expense. But what does that say about you? If your humor relies on tearing others down, you're not building respect, you're building resentment. It's like trying to climb a mountain by kicking others off the ledge. You might get a laugh, but you'll never earn admiration. Here's the truth. Humor should elevate, not belittle. It should connect, not deflect. When used with intention, humor can make you unforgettable. But when it becomes a crutch, it makes you invisible. People stop seeing your strength and start seeing your neediness. Respect isn't about how many people laugh at your jokes. It's about how your humor makes them feel. Do they feel closer to you? Do they see your confidence and wisdom? Or are they laughing just to fill the silence? So, the next time you're about to crack a joke, ask yourself, why am I saying this? What do I want it to achieve? If the answer is anything less than building connection or adding value, maybe it's better left unsaid. The Stoics teach us to speak with purpose, to let every word reflect our strength. Let your humor be like the sun, warm, illuminating and life-giving, not like lightning, unpredictable and destructive. Respect comes from balance, and when your humor strikes the right chord, it can turn every conversation into a symphony. If this video lit a fire within you, if you felt the power of words and wisdom shaping your perspective, don't let it end here. Hit like to show you're ready to embrace the philosophy of strength and clarity. Subscribe to Stoic Wisdom by Zeno to walk the path of self-mastery, respect, and purpose. Together, let's transform the way we speak, think, and live. Because wisdom is a journey, and this is just the beginning. Point 5. Loose lips, sink ships. The cost of gossip. Gossip is the snake that slithers through conversations, tempting you with its allure, but leaving behind a trail of mistrust and broken respect. It whispers to you, "This is harmless, just words." But every word is a brick in the wall that separates you from the respect you crave. Seneca once said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." If you look closely, gossip is one of those things we should mourn, not celebrate, because it diminishes not just the people we talk about, but ourselves. Let's face it, gossip feels good in the moment. Sharing that juicy detail about a colleague or a friend makes you feel powerful, like you're the keeper of secrets, the bearer of exclusive knowledge. But here's the truth you don't want to hear. Every time you gossip, you're not building trust, you're tearing it down. If people see you talking about others behind their backs, they know it's only a matter of time before you do the same to them. And just like that, you go from being someone they respect to someone they avoid. Think of gossip as poison. At first it's sweet, intoxicating even, but over time it corrodes everything it touches. It's like planting weeds in a garden. You might think you're sowing something meaningful, but all you're doing is choking the life out of relationships. Imagine someone finds out you've been spreading stories about them. What do they see in you then? A confidant or a betrayer? Respect dies the moment trust is broken. Here's a question you might be asking yourself. What if I don't mean harm? What if it's just harmless chatter? The Stoics would challenge you to examine your intent. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What color are your thoughts when you gossip? Are they noble and worthy of respect, or are they petty and insecure? Gossip isn't harmless. It's a reflection of your inner world, and if that world is built on tearing others down, how can you expect others to lift you up? Imagine a ship out at sea. Every piece of gossip you share is like drilling a tiny hole in the hull. It might not sink immediately, but over time, water seeps in. The trust people have in you, the respect you've worked hard to earn, starts to leak out. Eventually, the ship sinks, not because of a great storm, but because of tiny, careless actions repeated over time. Gossip is that slow, silent killer of your credibility. But here's the good news. You can choose differently. The next time someone leans in with a "Did you hear about so-and-so" moment, pause. Ask yourself, what am I gaining by engaging in this? More importantly, what am I losing? The Stoics believed in focusing on what you can control, and you can control your words. You can be the person who refuses to gossip, who builds bridges instead of burning them. When you choose not to speak ill of others, you create an aura of integrity. People start to see you as trustworthy, someone who values respect over fleeting entertainment. And what about when others gossip to you? It's tempting to nod along, to laugh, to contribute. But remember, silence is an option too. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. By not engaging, you send a clear message. I don't tear others down to build myself up. That's the kind of energy that commands respect. Here's a final metaphor for you. Think of yourself as a mirror. What you reflect is what the world sees in you. If you reflect insecurity, pettiness, and the need for validation through gossip, that's all people will notice. But if you reflect strength, integrity, and a refusal to stoop to gossip's level, people won't just respect you, they'll admire you. Remember, loose lips sink ships. Choose to keep yours sealed, and you'll sail further than you ever thought possible. Point 6. Know when to close your mouth and open their minds. Here's a tough pill to swallow. Most people talk too much. We've all been there, feeling the urge to keep explaining, adding just one more point, or filling a silence because it feels too heavy to bear. But here's the truth. The moment you start talking endlessly is the moment people stop listening. Words are like a finely brewed cup of coffee. Too much, and they lose their potency. A good conversation is not about how much you say, but how well you say it, and, more importantly, when you stop. The Stoics, masters of self-control and deliberate action, would never let their words spill recklessly. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let your words be few, yet significant." To know when to stop talking is to know the value of your voice. It's understanding that sometimes less is more, and silence is your strongest ally. When you stop speaking, you create space for others to reflect, to engage, and most importantly, to respect what you've said. Imagine a painter. If they keep adding strokes to their canvas, what was once a masterpiece becomes a mess. Your words are the same. Each one should matter. Every sentence should add to the picture you're painting. But too many people talk as if they fear being misunderstood. They pile on explanation after explanation, thinking they'll sound smarter, more convincing, or more valuable. Ironically, they achieve the opposite. They become background noise, like a song that plays on repeat until it loses all meaning. You might wonder, what if I don't say enough? What if they think I don't know what I'm talking about? This fear of silence is common, but it's misplaced. Silence isn't a void, it's a force. It gives your words time to settle in someone's mind. Think of it as planting a seed. If you keep digging it up to check if it's growing, it will never take root. But if you leave it undisturbed, it grows into something strong and undeniable. Your silence allows others to process your message, to absorb its weight, and to engage with it on their own terms. The art of knowing when to stop talking is deeply tied to confidence. People who ramble often do so out of insecurity, trying to prove something. But a Stoic understands that true power doesn't come from overloading others with information. It comes from speaking deliberately, then trusting your words to stand on their own. As Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." When you keep talking, you're not teaching, you're overwhelming. Silence, on the other hand, invites thought. Consider this: in a crowded room, the quietest voice often commands the most attention. Why? Because people are drawn to mystery. When you speak concisely and then stop, you create intrigue. Your words linger in the air like the final note of a symphony, leaving your audience wanting more. They lean in, not because you begged for their attention, but because your restraint earned it. It's not easy to stop talking. The moment you pause, doubt creeps in. Did I say enough? Should I clarify? But remember, confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about being comfortable with the silence that follows. It's about trusting that what you've said has value, even if you don't fill the gaps with noise. When you resist the urge to over-explain, you show others that you're intentional, thoughtful, and secure in your ideas. Think of history's most impactful speeches. They weren't long-winded essays. They were concise, deliberate, and left space for the audience to feel their weight. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address was only 272 words, yet it moved an entire nation. The power wasn't in the length, but in the precision and timing. When you know when to stop talking, you show respect for your own words and for the person listening. You give others room to think, to engage, and to respond. And in doing so, you transform your words from mere sounds into something meaningful, something unforgettable. So, the next time you're in a conversation, ask yourself, am I adding value or am I just adding noise? Speak your truth, then let silence do the rest. It's in those quiet moments that respect is born and your words take root in the minds of others. Conclusion: speak with power, live with purpose. At the end of the day, the way you speak shapes the way you are perceived and how you perceive yourself. Whether it's choosing your words wisely, setting firm boundaries, embracing silence, or dropping the need for endless explanations, speaking with respect is about far more than communication. It's about owning your presence, your values, and your power. As the Stoics believed, mastery over your words is mastery over your life. Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue, said Zeno, reminding us that words once spoken can either elevate or diminish us. You have the power to turn your voice into a tool of influence and respect. Every word you speak can either build a bridge or burn one. The choice is always yours. If this resonated with you, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to Stoic Wisdom by Zeno, where we explore timeless lessons to help you live with strength and clarity. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Which principle hit home for you? Or do you have your own secret to commanding respect? Share it with us. We'd love to hear from you. Together, let's grow wiser, stronger, and unapologetically ourselves.